Today's episode is sponsored by Zencaster. So, a few years ago, I started a podcast, and one of my podcasting friends told me they record through Zencaster. I guest starred on his show. It was super easy to join through the invite link. I just plugged in my microphone and we recorded. When I listened to the episode, the sound quality was chef's kiss. I knew going forward I had to use Zencaster to record episodes for my own show. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencaster's multi layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. If you have thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are over. With Zencaster's all in one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencaster.com/pricing and use my code FranksFiction, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all of my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Hello, my name is Frank DeLuzio, and this is Thrillers and Tea, episode 8, but also my third episode 1 or revamp of sorts. I started the show back in October of 2022, I want to say, and then it got revamped again in 2023. And look at this, another show in 2024. I mean, third time's the charm, right? Well, there's going to be a new concept of the show. So, what I want to do is the last Thursday of every month, there'll be a dive into a mystery, thriller, or suspense novel. And some months, like today's episode, there'll be a second episode on another Thursday. That'll either be a buddy read with a friend or myself talking about a topic in the book world, like I'm doing with today. But before we sip today's tea, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Franks_fiction. I also have a book club on the Fable app under the same name, Thrillers and Tea. The books we're reading in the book club will be the same books covered on the show. And who knows, I may even read some of your comments. If you want to join the fun, all links will be in the show notes. And a quick little disclaimer, please don't target or send hate towards anyone I discussed today. I simply want to inform others about something in the book community that is going on that you might like to know. So today's topic I discovered through a book friend, Jace. You can follow him on Instagram at Jace Reads. And he was talking about a special tab on this bookshop's website titled Books for Men and how books shouldn't be correlated with gender, which I agree with. So, which bookshop are we talking about today? Well, we are talking about Robinson's Bookshop that's located in Australia, and it first opened in 1963 by Philip and Moria Robinson. The bookshop has been owned by Susan Horman since 2007, but we'll get into her later. So, which books are considered for men only to read? Well, not many. Most are detective novels by either Lee Child, Steve Kavanaugh. Okay, I will admit, I liked the Steve Kavanaugh book that I read personally. I did enjoy that one. It was called 13. I do recommend that book, but neither here nor there. Their other authors were Robert Galbraith, Gary Disher. I'm actually shocked they included Agatha Christie and Jane Harper, but I think that's only because they tend to have male detectives. Like we can't read mystery or thrillers with a female protagonist. They they also had Sherlock Holmes was another recommendation, only for men to read. There was Mark Twain books, Of Mice and Men, The Iliad. Like, why do recommendations for men have to be from the Stone Age? The only fantasy recommended to men was the Witcher series. There's no recommendations in romance or memoir, cooking, travel, self-help, stories, any stories from minorities, graphic novels, not even horror. Like, how is Stephen King not manly enough? But apparently, men don't fall in love or cook, travel, work on their mental health, want to learn more about other people. And oh, yeah, they're all white. I think there's one rule regarding reading: read whatever you like. Some older adults read young adult and get something out of it. Personally, I enjoyed the Heartstopper graphic novels by Alice Oseman, and I wish there had been something like that when I was growing up. I've read domestic thrillers and unreliable female narrators. Some examples of that was Alice Feeney and Robin Harding. I love them. Which, yeah, those are some of my favorites in the thriller genre. And I've read a plethora of memoirs lately, and some of those stories stay with you. I've also learned important life lessons from self help. And no, I'm not talking about Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and that men can only live by self help that is delivered in that specific manner. I feel like there are outdated ideologies to the point that some men won't read because they believe reading is a feminine activity. No, reading is knowledge, it's escapism, it's pleasure, it's relaxation. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some tweets that Susan Horman, the CEO of Robinson's Bookshop, tweeted. Okay, so I have her tweets in front of me, and I'll try not to pause too much, but honestly, if something really strong comes up and I think of it right away, I'm going to respond. So she said, should I do a voice for her? No, I'm not going to do a voice for her. Okay, okay, I'm going to do a voice for her because I like to be silly. Books we don't need: Hate Against White Australians, Socialist Agenda, Equity Over Equality, which, oh no, Diversity and Inclusion, that read as anti-white exclusion, left-wing government propaganda. Okay, I do have to pause there because there already was issues. So I guess I can they're in Australia. I can understand like not wanting hate against Australians. I don't know why the specifics is white Australians, but yeah, that was said. And then the whole thing with left-wing government propaganda, I'm going to try to keep my belief short on the matter. If you want to have one side of a belief in your bookstore, put the other side in there as well. Put any possible sides on a matter, put them in there. People are going to read what they want to read anyway on the matter because unfortunately some people they just want to believe what they want. Like it doesn't matter what you tell certain people. Not this isn't everyone, but certain people will believe what they want anyway, or they'll align more towards something that speaks more to what they already agree with instead of actually challenging their own beliefs. So I say put it all in there. Put it all in your bookshop and let people believe what they want in that matter. But to say left-wing government propaganda specifically, it just sounds like that's already picking a side, you know? Let me get back to her. Basically, the woke agenda that divides people. Not stocking any of these in 2024. Hashtag we need better stories. What's missing from our bookshelves in store? Positive male lead characters of any age, any traditional nuclear white family stories, kids' picture books with just white kids on the cover, and no wheelchair, rainbow, or indigenous art. She didn't spell it right. Non-indigenous history. Hashtag we need better stories. Oh boy. Oh no. Personally, I think adding some kids' picture books, that's great, but to point it out as we're looking for just white kids on the cover, that's sending a message, in my opinion. No wheelchair. What did people in wheelchairs do to you? Like why are we excluding people with physical disabilities? Nothing with rainbows or indigenous art. Here's her last tweet. So I am advocating for a substantial shift in the focus of Australian publishers to be in line with public opinion and request for books and for what is good. We aren't going to stock books that intend to cause harm and make Australians hate each other. Hashtag we need better stories. So those were the tweets of Suzanne Horman. And the bookshop also they released a statement from their Instagram page, and then after that, a couple days later, Suzanne herself released her own message on the Instagram page. But just some initial thoughts reading those tweets, it just sounds like you're excluding minorities and people who are considered different from the average white citizen. I could understand trying to look for different books to be added to your collection. I mean, we know the books for men in quotes probably need a lot more in there personally. Honestly, shouldn't even be a category, in my opinion, but neither here nor there. And it's really hard to say, oh, well, she meant something different by that. But did she? Like, it's hard to understand where she was coming from. And I am happy she released a statement, but what the statement says, I mean, we'll have to, you'll have to be the judge of that. But yes, the bookshop Instagram page, they released and I do put it in quotes apology because I'll let you also decide if you think this is an apology or not, but I will share my opinion on it. So, they start off by saying, I don't know if I should give them a voice too, maybe. Okay, I'll give them a voice too. We sincerely apologize to anyone who has been offended by online comments that are being edited by individuals and posted on social media about Robinsons. I laugh because that first line is hilarious. We sincerely apologize to anyone who has been offended. So, in other words, I'm sorry you're offended. I'm sorry you feel that way. That is what I get from just that sentence, and I kinda get nervous about reading the rest of it because that to me is a very strong beginning of the message, and just saying essentially like, "Sorry, not sorry," or like, yeah, "Sorry you feel that way," which I feel like is the number one bullshit way to apologize. They are being taken out of context. They are being taken out of context and being misrepresented as the views of Robinson's bookshop when they are not. My opinion on that, the tweets that I read were direct screenshots of what she said. And for me, I feel like that's hard to take out of context because it's an exact screenshot. It's not like we're summarizing what she was saying, like, she said it just as I read it. We clearly state, so there is no misunderstanding, that we fully support and encourage stories from diverse voices, minorities, and we are most definitely stalking these important topics and the authors that write them. So, my only comment with that so far is I did see some authors who have stories at this bookshop, and they were saying some comments about how, so for example, their LGBT category. It's like, okay, that's cool. That's really cool. They have that category. But one of the authors, I won't say their name, or to be honest, I can't remember their name, but that they were talking about how that author in the LGBT category is actually an anti-trans author. It's just the word trans was in the title of their book. So it's almost like the bookshop just assumed, oh, like that has to be a LGBT story because it has the word trans in the title, not realizing what the book was actually about. And it was actually stating anti-trans dialect, which personally isn't really an LGBT book, it's an anti-LGBT book. As a business, we will continue advocating for positive, hope filled stories that bring out the best in all our community and make all people feel supported and fulfilled. We ask everyone to treat all of our staff with kindness and respect. So, my response on that, yes, I feel like if anyone is going to feel some heat from what's going on, it's the individual themselves that posted those tweets, and that is the CEO of this business. Which, once again, I'm not saying you should go send her hate or anything, but I just, it's a story I came across and I did some research on. And from that whole books for men thing, that was more of like a silly idea. I discovered these tweets and it just goes like deeper and darker. But I don't think anyone should like be going after the staff or anything or blaming them. Like at the end of the day, these people just work there and they're trying to make a paycheck. And I also read a little bit that a lot of these staff are actually part of the LGBT community. And of course, they don't believe the same things that Suzanne does. After a backlash to comments made by Suzanne Horman on X, Robinson's Bookshop would like to clarify the intent of these comments. During the last few years, the buying team at Robinson's has noticed most books being released have little variation of themes. Suzanne Horman, chief executive at Robinson's, who posted the comments on social media, believes this has caused an opportunity in the market for authors to fill. While some genres are overflowing on the shelves, others are noticeably bare. Positive stories with men and boys as the hero are almost missing from the mix. Neither Suzanne Horman nor Robinson's Bookshop are making a value judgment on this observation. Suzanne apologizes if people have taken this comment as a negative reflection on the excellent range of diverse books. It's once again, she apologizes if you took what she was saying wrong. I feel like most of us are a good example of just being human beings in general. I can take ownership that I have said things that have hurt someone else, and maybe I didn't understand at the time why, but I took the time to understand it. And there's even some things that even after conversation, maybe I didn't fully agree, but I still feel like someone's hurt is valid, and we should be able to understand that. Robinson's Bookshop believes a good bookshop should offer a range of genres to cater for customer needs and fully encourages, supports, and stocks stories from diverse voices. However, mainstream fiction with males or boys as the hero in general are now all but missing, resulting in very few fiction titles for essentially half the population. As stated previously, Robinson draws no conclusions about the reasons for the shift, stating there is a gap on their shelves and an opportunity for authors to fill it. Suzanne Horman and Robinson's Bookshop apologizes if any comments made on social media have upset or offended anyone, and would like to reassure customers that it will continue to stock a diverse range of books. So, there was someone that I felt like, "Oh my god, I just realized who commented." I was saying someone commented, it was actually the queen, Sally Hepworth. I love her in Thriller. We actually have an episode for her book, The Soulmate, so we have covered her on the podcast in the past. I didn't even realize she was the one that commented this, and this kinda goes along with the whole lines that there's not a ton of books that have, like, this positive male main character figure. Sally herself, she commented, "I'm struggling with your comment that novels with boys or men as heroes are all but missing. Off the top of my head, there's Jack Reacher, Erning Cunningham, Jack West Jr., Cameron Strike, Percy Jackson." I mean, I feel like everyone knows Percy Jackson or has heard of it from a movie, even if they're not a book reader. Aaron Falk, Amos Decter, and Travis Devine, Nell Buchanan, William Warwick, Mickey Haler, Cyrus Haven, and many more. So essentially what she's saying is that yeah, there actually are a lot of books that have positive boys or men as heroes. And if anything, I actually don't see a lot of books where there's more minority characters or more female leads in those types of books. Like even some of the thrillers that I do read with a female lead, sometimes those books go down the lines where they're almost not positive. They end up murdering someone at the end of the novel. They ended up being an unreliable narrator. They ended up having some sort of mental health disorder. However, I am going to go back on the website and I will dig a little bit deeper just to see what they do offer for the diverse books, because I think I did see a couple categories where they did offer some other voices. So I am curious about that. I also do think it's a little silly that none of those books are considered male books. So then Suzanne, she had a response. So I'll try to remember what I did for her voice again, and then I will read some comments under her response. And I wanted to include Suzanne's response because I feel like it is important to hear what she has to say on the matter because, she put those tweets out there. And, I am happy she at least addressed it in some sort of way. I know sometimes people make comments and then just pretend like they didn't make them. So this was Suzanne's response. I know my social media posts have upset some people, and I'm sorry about that. Once again, you notice a theme here? I know something I said or did, it upset people, and I'm sorry about that, but not really like I'm sorry for saying it. But anyway, a quick shout out to say thanks to the amazing support we have received from customers and authors over the past 24 hours. For those who are still not convinced, We Stock Diversity Reads, the lovely Robinsons team have put together some great book stacks of their favorite books to demonstrate this. Our men's fiction is looking a little bit thin despite being ever on the lookout for this content to meet demand for these books. The ones we have are great go to books for the team, but they are mostly older titles and generally crime fiction. We really need a lot more that is new. Okay, so that's one thing she did say I agree with because it was very thin on the book. I also just, once again, I just find it silly that there's a separate men's category because there's no books for women. There's not that category. I could understand a category books for children more so because of the reading level, but I still just find it a little comical. There's like books depending on gender because there was not a books for women category on the website. Yet there's this like books for men, and we desperately need these white voices, these white men voices, which we actually do have a lot of. My other thought on that as well is she mentions that the team they put together, they were able to get all these books for their bookshop already in these other categories. I just don't understand why they couldn't research the specific type of book they're looking for with these supposed positive boy and male heroes that they're claiming they lack. I just don't understand why they're not doing the research to get those books, like why they're asking the readers about it. But anyway, back to her. I encourage publishers, authors, and customers to let us know what we are missing for men and boys and help us get the right books in customers' hands. I encourage publishers to tell everyone about their upcoming releases as well. We have opened up for comments. Please be respectful when interacting with us. In line with our social media policy, offensive language and abuse will be removed. We really look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Suzanne. Before I even say anything else about that, I will read some comments under it. Unfortunately for her, I have not really seen any support. I tried. I looked for a while, to be honest, for any comments agreeing with her or being positive, and I could not find one. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. I was trying to show both sides of it, and it was all it was all comments like these that I will share with you now. So one comment said, "So you can read, but not the room, apparently." I'm sorry. That comment did make me laugh out loud. That was damn, like that's a burn. And it's it's a reading burn on top of it. It's book related. Another comment said, "Are you allergic to the word sorry?" I mean, yeah, I just felt like it was an apology, but not really an apology, whether it was from the social media page themselves. And I feel like when that wasn't good enough, that's why she made a statement, which was almost the same kind of statement. And I almost just feel like she made the initial statement that the social media page left because it was literally just saying the same thing. So another comment did say, you do realize that actually a huge portion of your indigenous and LGBTQ plus stacks are also either by or about men, right? So you don't actually just mean men, you mean a certain kind of man, a certain color, perhaps. I am sipping tea on that one. I have to agree with I feel like that is a decent read on the matter because the books that they do claim to offer for men, I did notice all the characters are white. And yeah, I did find it interesting that I mean I am part of the LGBTQ plus community myself, And I know many reads that, like, I know many authors and books that involve that topic, yet it wasn't considered to be a category for men to read, even though it's literally men that are writing these books. Another comment says, offensive language and abuse will be removed. Meanwhile, you've spent days doubling down on your own offensive language and abuse as if swearing is worse than systematic discrimination. Yeah, I have no comment on that. I'm sipping more tea, honestly. Because another comment says, why can't men read books that feature women as the main protagonist? And yeah, that was honestly, that was something that I said earlier. I've enjoyed a lot of books that have a female author, female protagonist, or both. And I'm in book clubs, whether it's my own or, a friend's or other people's. And there are straight men in these groups. Like, I am a gay man, but I've met quite a good amount of straight men that are also in the book community, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or through book clubs or writing workshops or anything like that, where they would pick up some of these books potentially. The main takeaway with this episode is I think you should read what you want and don't let others' judgment pressure you into reading what they think you should read. The books for men category, that was more on the silly side, but the tweets and why many were upset, the books for men category, that was more on the silly side, but the tweets that Suzanne said, that's why many people were upset. It's what she said. And I feel like Suzanne was trying to backtrack a little bit. But unfortunately, the internet is forever. And we should not only think before we speak, but also be willing to listen to those who say, what you said hurt me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts by commenting on the Spotify episode and or reviewing the podcast wherever you listen. If you want to stay up to date on the podcast and other book content, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Franks_fiction. Also, I would love it if you sent me some book recommendations from non-white authors that you enjoyed. You can do that through social media or by emailing me at franksfiction@yahoo.com. I hope you have a thrilling day, and bye.